What's up, guys? My name is Khan, and we're back today with more Railroads Online. How's it going, Hyce? How are you doing today?
It's going good. It finally turned winter for us. We're a couple weeks late. But,
it's been a bit since we recorded with the holidays and everything. I saw a photo. I forgot to mention it. I saw a photo on the holidays that reminded me of you. There was a magnitude 7.1 earthquake in New Zealand a while ago. I don't know how long ago this was. And they showed a railroad track that had been curved by the earthquake. And I saw this on like a meme posting board, and I was like, "Wow, look at how curved that is." And I wanted to reply like, "Well, you guys just haven't seen Hyce lay track," and like clearly, but like no one would have gotten it, so I did. But I was like, "This is clearly just Hyce's track, like a 7.1 earthquake, just you know."
Okay, so I've heard legends, Con, that they've upped the Glenbrook speed cap to something like 25 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing too.
But apparently the cars will randomly derail past like 22 miles an hour.
Right.
So
I was actually
for the ES&E to shine, man.
I was wondering about this with the steam locomotive, right? Because if you have a reverser, which basically says here's my valve gear in forward or reverse, right? Like which direction they're going to move in the cylinder.
Yep.
And the distance of the reverser from zero determines the distance the valve moves, right? So, like, if I'm perfectly centered in the zero, the valve doesn't move at all, or it does?
No, it does move. It just doesn't uncover the ports. But it depends. It depends on the valve gear type. The valve gear that we have in this game, Stevenson's valve gear, actually it does uncover the ports a little bit, and you can actually run
at
with
0%.
the bar one click in the opposite direction, and it'll continue to go forwards or reverse,
because of momentum.
Because of momentum and the lap and the lead of the valve.
Okay.
The valve has to lead.
The throttle controls how much steam is allowed to the valve section. Okay. So how do you control speed of a steam engine?
You just set the throttle for what you need and then
but if your throttle
if
your throttle is more like I'm thinking force equals mass times acceleration, right? If your throttle is bigger than your if your force is, you see what I'm saying? Unless your force is perfectly equal to your mass, then you're always going to accelerate. You know what I mean? See what I'm saying?
I mean, you get to equilibrium with the train behind you, the rolling resistance, the resistance up the grade, and everything.
Right.
And at a certain throttle setting or a certain bar setting, you'll get to the point where you're balanced out, and you typically
and you just have to feel that out. Like as a train driver, you just kind of like feel, oh, I'm at this neutral point where my speed is constant. Because it's not like a car where you can just be like, hey, I'm at 60 kilometers an hour. I'm going to do 60 kilometers an hour, you know. Like with your car, for example, cruise control, I mean, it lets off the throttle and goes back on the throttle as it needs to, right? It does a lot of coasting. So I guess with a train, you kind of do the same thing. You're like, oh, I'm speeding up, pull the throttle back, I'm slowing down, bring in more throttle.
Well, so it's an interesting challenge because really you need to make sure you're keeping the train in a constant state of tension or compression. And so you can't really horse jockey the throttle around a bunch.
Right.
If you start pulling the throttle out far or make big adjustments, you're gonna feel that all the way through the train if you're completely in tension, which in passenger trains is how you accidentally put your conductor on his butt. Ask me how I know.
Yeah, I get it.
So you want to make little adjustments, and you can certainly, but most folks tend to let the train attack the grade and do what it's going to do, and then if they need to make an adjustment, they can. Me being the perfectionist type, except when I'm laying track, person that I am, and getting lots of experience going over the same railroad at our little circle of track, I've gotten to the point where I really try to challenge myself to run at exactly the same speed the whole way around. And you do a lot of little adjustments, and you really listen to how fast the engine's working.
Not to interrupt, but our cars are having some shaking.
Okay, I can't tell if that's client side or
no. This is bad news side.
This is dangerous. All right, well, I mean, I can just send it.
No, I mean, I really don't want to pee in a cup already. Oh my god, bro, they go so fast.
Good God, we could go fast now. Look at this.
I know this is so sketchy looking though. Especially through these switches and stuff. Oh my god.
Fine.
All right. Good. great. We survived. We made it.
We survived the switch gauntlet. It's fine.
Holy cow. I mean, it will help having that extra speed to go up the hill towards the iron mine, but holy cow. Did we even mention what we're doing? We just started driving? I don't know if we mentioned.
We did just start driving. No, we didn't really do an intro other than the, hey
Oh,
guys,
right.
we're here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We're going to the iron mine today. We're going to bring some of this lumber because we need to do that. And then we're going to, when we get to the smelter, we're going to drag ourselves the 4 hoppers as well, so we can do some double directional loading stuff and, bring stuff.
Can we bring 12 cars up the hill?
And backwards,
that is the question.
Yeah. All right, you can load this or at least start it. I'm going to go set the switches to leave, so we're good to just, pull out of here when we go.
Sounds good. I'll start the loading.
History of narrow gauge. Was there a lot of like flat spot narrow gauges through like prairies and stuff, or was it really like
there was
purely...
not for terribly long,
right?
So like the Denver Rio Grande starting in 1871, they're the railroad that we talk about most frequently on my channel. They were the biggest narrow gauge railroad in Colorado. Montezuma, which pulls nothing as we found out, started running out in 1871, and it worked out for long enough because they basically ran from Denver to Pueblo, Colorado, and that is not in the mountains. That's on the front range of the mountains and is very flat, very Kansas looking. Yes, there were some grades dealing with, going up and down, but not 4%, 5%. I mean, it's like percent, maybe 2%. Right. Someone who knows the history, I'm sure, will correct me, but that's really all it was about, was being flat. But they knew that if they were going to get across the state, they would need to get, narrow gauge for those really mountainous pieces. So they started all narrow gauge, and then they ended up dual gauging the line when they had enough money to get some standard gauge equipment and things figured out. And then they ended up removing the 3-foot gauge portion. So the railroad that still runs from Denver to Pueblo is some of it's the original alignment, and used to have 3-foot gauge, but it hasn't in probably 140 years.
Wow. You got to back up a little, like half a car. This one didn't want to load.
Thanks, Beams.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks for being so great. Very, very difficult. Yeah. It's amazing how much easier this train moves
with an actual engine, with something that has power. Yeah. Narrow gauge 3-foot. An American thing, purely like the actual start of it was an American, and why did they settle on 3-foot? Is there a reason, or is it just like lost in history as to why they picked 3-foot instead of 4 instead of 2?
Right. So I wish there was better history about rail gauge, because even standard gauge is sort of a myth of where it came from, and everyone will say, no, that's actually where it came from. But it's like, there's no documentation of that. It's just a passed down story of, it was the width of 2 horses' butts, or it was the width of the Roman chariots, and blah,
right.
blah, 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 blah. And that's how we ended up with 56.5 inches, because that's an easy number of math to do.
Yeah, because I definitely remember when they were first making steam trains in the 1800s, they were like, you know what we should do? Let's look at Roman chariots and make sure that, we match up with that, because, there's just a lot of people driving chariots nowadays, and it's really important that we, accommodate them with our railways.
It was a British thing, and it was like, okay, well, they already had railways basically that didn't have locomotives.
Did the British came up with 3-foot gauge? Like they started it? Or
no, the Americans came up with 3-foot gauge. The British came up with standard gauge.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
We basically stole it from them, going, okay, well, this is what the Brits did, and they're the people that have designed locomotives. Are we loaded? I can't tell.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Okay.
Please don't bin it. I don't want to. We might have to do a log delivery here at some point too. We're actually.
We're getting low. We got 1 log in the pond, or two
logs in the pond,
ice.
in our frozen pond. Yeah. Love to see the logistics of that one.
I don't know why they picked 3-foot over 4-foot. I guess 4-foot wouldn't be that narrow. 2-foot gets really small, so 3 is a decent balance and a decent enough size.
Right.
And a round number, right? Not 56.5 inches. 3-foot, it's a lot easier.
Man, this thing takes off like a bat out of hell. Holy cow.
It really does.
It is so
fights,
fast.
There were fights over gauge back in the day, and one of the interesting things in the American Civil War...
Was it your typical, like American fights with guns fights over gauge?
Yes, the Civil War. So, yeah,
good.
That's what it took to get the gauges unified, was actually the Civil War, where the South actually had a number of different gauges. Some was standard gauge, some was 5-foot gauge, etc. back in the day. And the North had a much more extensive network of all standard gauge, so it was easier for the North to mobilize equipment and things and all that stuff during the United States Civil War.
And that's why the South lost the Civil War, because they didn't have the standard railroad. No.
That and many other reasons that historians would probably chime in the comments, I'm sure, but after the Civil War, everything got laid to standard gauge, unless it was narrow gauge, but I don't think they had narrow gauge anywhere out that way in that era. But now that I've said that, I'm sure someone will say, well, actually, there's this one neat example, and they are neat, those weird little outliers, and this is definitely a hobby of weird little outliers, and there's actually this one neat thing.
All right, so standard gauge, Canada, US, North America, Europe, all the same standard gauge nowadays.
But not everywhere, but most places.
Most places. What about Asian places like India, China, that sort of thing? Japan, railroads, are they all the same? Or are they...
So Japan, I want to say, is mostly actually 3 foot 6 inch or 42 inch gauge.
So a little bit smaller.
It's a narrower gauge, and that may not be exactly what it is. Someone's going to correct me. But I think the Shinkansens actually run on standard gauge, if I'm recalling my BS right. Places in Australia and New Zealand have a lot of 3 foot 6 inch gauge. Places in Africa, 3 foot 6 inch gauge. I want to say Russia is 5 foot gauge.
Oh, that's weird.
And then somewhere between like Spain or Portugal, there's also a different gauge. So they actually have trains in Europe that change gauge on the fly between standard gauge and these other gauges so that they can just continue running without changing trains, which is kind of absurd and a very neat engineering problem. But
actually, I remember reading one place, there was a kind of an interesting fact, and someone pointed out, some historian was pointing out, and I'm probably butchering this and I'm going to get corrected like crazy, but apparently you can tell how far the Germans invaded different countries in World War II based on the gauge of railroad, because as the Germans invaded places, they would swap the gauge over to whatever gauge they were running, and just so they could keep their supply lines going. And again, I don't know how accurate this all is, but that's what I had heard, is that
seems feasible to me.
Sure. So apparently you could see just how far they invaded into some places, because everywhere they went, they would dig up the old railroad, keep the same railroad bed, but they'd swap the gauge out to accommodate their trains.
Well, there you go.
Which I thought was kind of interesting. Again, I'm probably going to get butchered in the comments for misquoting something, and
that's fine. We're not history experts by
any
means here. We do enjoy it, but yeah.
Okay, so how do I do this? I got to pull hopper cars out with Betsy here. I guess you just
want to
drive
be on the iron mine side of them, and then you can just run into the head shunt.
Right, but then you have to go past them and then back into the line?
Yep, precisely.
Okay. All right.
This thing goes fast. This is scary fast.
Yeah, please don't derail on the bridge, because, oh my god, the bridge to the iron mine, dude, that really tall one, if we derail on that, we're never getting the cars back.
Never getting the cars back. The cars will end up being ballast on the bottom of the canyon.
That's just game over at that point.
That's what the railroad did, though. They'd usually leave wrecked trains in locations like that. If you look down at the Cumbres and Toltec, which is a bit of the original Denver and Rio Grande Western that still exists, if you look down Toltec Gorge, which is about a 600-foot drop, pretty sheer, they had a train wreck right there and fall down the canyon, and you could still see the tender trucks from the engine that are just still upside down in the dirt at the bottom of the canyon if you know where to look.
And that's just because they didn't have cranes at the time that would get it out, or it's not even worth it to get it out?
Was not worth it to get it out. They didn't have cranes or rigging, and even today, using modern equipment would still be very challenging to try and get those back up to the railroad.
And they probably wouldn't even bother. They'd just clean up the environmental mess and call it a day.
Oh, they wouldn't do that back in the day. Are you kidding me?
No, I mean modern. If a modern day accident,
yes.
They would get screamed at for not cleaning it up, right? So that's...
Right. And these days, I mean, there's very few railroads that have 600-foot drops off the side of them anymore in, Class 1 service, so... but that's definitely a tradition in the railroad, to the point where, they had a washout on one of the tourist railroads, maybe 10, 15 years ago, and they found that the giant fill that was built up around some curve washed away.
Right.
And they uncovered parts of train cars because they wrecked something there, and then they were like, well, that'll make good riprap to hold the ballast in place. And so they just left it there and ballasted over the top of it.
Hold on. You are. Hold on. I need to flick the switch.
Aligned to a pea in a cup.
You're aligned to smash into me. There you go. Now you're not. All right. Can I get back in Betsy, please?
Hey,
no.
Hey, you want to race?
Oh yeah, this is gonna work. Ready? All right, full speed. Let's go, Betsy. Get those little drivers moving. Move your little drivers. Yeah, I'm not winning this race. Wow, you are actually way faster.
I'm not even
you might want to slow
yet.
down though. You do have to back in past that. Pick these guys up.
I still got more siding and I got brakes.
That's true.
I can't hear anything from this render distance, so you know.
Okay, back in the day, you got a guy yelling like 1 car, 2 cars, 3 cars, 5 cars, whatever.
You either have that or you have hand signals being relayed by brakemen down the train. In
Right.
which case, this is what we'd be doing. Doing hand signals with relays down the train.
The engineer would feel when he hits cars. Like, no matter how long your train is, you're going to feel...
You may feel it too late. Yes, you will feel it, but if you were entirely, free tension, right?
It'll
with
ripple
the car
all the way
stretched,
up, like before
it ripples all the way up first. So you've already damaged
one
things
car,
and hit by
half
the
a
time
car.
you feel it. Okay.
Locked and loaded.
Locked and loaded.
Let me check brakes. Good. All right, all ahead full, sir.
All ahead full. We're back to the Navy.
We're actually loading a train proper here. We got the heaviest load at the front and the lightest load at the back. So
reduce the chances of string lining, which is good because I can't see the end of the train. So
yeah, don't worry about it.
So,
It'll be fine.
One of my favorite stupid things I've learned about, and it's like one of the most railroad things I've ever heard, as far as we derailed this and then we didn't want to deal with it. I had some fans of the channel come pop by the museum, and they're little historians about the Colorado Midland Railroad, which is the first...
Before you get on that, if I show up, by the way, I am going to have a Heist #1 sign with, like, the foam finger.
I'm glad.
and just be like, woo, Heist #1! And then confuse the living crap out of every other tourist that's there.
The tourists would be confused. My coworkers would be laughing at me. So please do.
That'll be that's the plan. I got to get a custom-made foam finger.
Finger Heist #1.
Yeah.
He's my #1 fan.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be perfect.
So these two gents showed up, and they're really big into the Colorado Midland Railroad. And the Colorado Midland was the first standard gauge railroad through the Rockies. And so they basically did what the narrow gauge railroads did, but in standard gauge, because they liked doing lines of cocaine and getting dumb ideas, apparently.
Okay. Why would you run? Like, what's the genuine reason for running standard gauge in? I guess this is the stupid question. Standard gauge versus narrow gauge. Wider trains does not equal wider cars. It's just wider stance, but the cars are the same width. Or do all the cars get wider so you get more load?
So originally the narrow gauge cars were all not as wide, and almost every narrow gauge car that's been built isn't as wide. Later on, the engines got bigger and basically got to standard gauge width, so they had to deal with that on the narrow gauge. Like the K37 that I have at the Colorado Railroad Museum, 491, is as wide as any standard gauge engine. It is standard gauge in every dimension except height. It's shorter. It's only like 13 and a half feet tall instead of 16. But early on, I mean, everything was so much smaller. Loading gauge was smaller. So standard gauge width did get you more loading capacity. And the cars only got so wide on narrow gauge because the further out you get from the truck, the more likely you are to roll over and topple over and that sort of thing. So they could only really get so wide, despite the locomotives getting extra wide.
Right.
So standard gauge was an opportunity to have bigger, heavier locomotives early, and also haul more goods if you could make it up and around the railroad. So the Midland, I mean, the stories from the Midland are insane. It closed right after World War I because of the way that the government ran the railroads and a whole bunch of fun politics from 100 years ago. But crazy railroad, had all sorts of insane problems. They had a tunnel that was perpetually frozen, and they had to dig out the ice to clear the tracks and all sorts of madness. But they had a train roll down the mountain, and they left the tender down at the bottom of the mountain because they couldn't get it. And it said Colorado Midland in beautiful lettering down the side of it, and made for advertisement of, we drop our trains off the side of the railroad to all their passenger trains. And they didn't like that. So they blew it up. They went down to the tender with TNT, and they blew the tender up. So that you couldn't read the Colorado Midland on the side, and it is still there.
Did they not
to this
hear
day.
of like I don't know, paint, like just maybe maybe
well,
just
it's still recognizable as a tender as well, presumably. I'm gonna stop because I'm assuming we're gonna need.
okay, but like
our
again, paint, maybe some tools, like
no, you
they
can blow it
chose
up, Colin.
violence
Think of how
very
fun
fast.
it would be to blow up a tender instead of anything else.
Oh
yeah, so,
boy. Oh
yeah. Did you just pee in a cup, sir?
No! Oh, get wrecked! I got right back on the track. Let's go.
Beautiful.
I don't know
Very
how
nice.
realistic that is. I really should put a stopper at the other end of this turntable here, so when it's lined straight, you don't just accidentally like. Oh, that just goes right into the mountain anyway. Never mind. That is actually useless.
It's a ramp.
I
That's
drove
fine.
off it, but it rests on the mountain, and I had my back drivers still on the rail, so I just, just
So you just
popped it
backed
back
right
in.
on. Yeah,
Yeah, it was good.
It's actually surprising how often that actually works.
In real life.
A lot of simple derailments are fixed by just backing up.
Is it, what happens if you're, like, let's say you go to back up, right? And your lead wheels aren't, you might have to back up a little. No, you're
I'm
actually
past
probably
the
good.
switch. Or I guess I may not be past the switch enough.
But yeah, you, so like if you have, like your leading wheels, let's say, like if they come off the track, right? And they're not lined up with the track, like how heavy, like could I take that whole leading wheel assembly with my hands and just move it over so it lines up with the track?
Oh God, no!
It's
no.
just way
you
too
would
heavy
never.
for
You take a track jack.
A track
right,
jack?
which is a jack for lifting up the rail. Basically, is usually what we used. You'd use one of those jacks, and you would pry against the rail or a tie butt against a tie or whatever you could to try and shift the wheel back over.
And it, like just because even the leading assembly, like just the two wheels and leading assembly, like how much would that whole assembly weigh?
A couple $1,000.
What? Really?
You're not moving it by hand.
Just
no,
cast
they're
iron wheels or something? Like just
cast iron or steel, even at 2 foot diameter. I mean, they're extremely heavy.
We are
It's hitting it with speed, boy. I got it wide open.
You're wide open. I'm gonna just chill a little bit right now.
Like, go wide open. We got 6.5% grade. We're not going to derail, Con.
Yeah, but we're
we
towing.
Need to make it up the hill.
We're going so fast.
We got places to be. I don't care how fast we're going.
Oh,
I'm not going
God.
to derail.
Dude, listen
Give
to
it
the
the
chugs.
beans,
Listen to
Con.
the chugs, man.
The beans.
All right.
We've got 12 cars. You got to put it in not change.
Oh, I only have 51 boiler pressure. Uh-oh.
Oh, God. Worthless. Our fireman's worthless. He's fired.
Oh, God. Yeah,
I can't pull this train and shove your dead butt
it's going up.
this
It's
hill,
going
Con.
up. It's going up. I'm at 50 again. Oh,
wow,
no.
Con.
Oh, no.
Letting
that was...
it run out of pressure. Okay, we're gonna have to try this again.
Yeah.
because-
Well, I didn't. This engine's been sitting cold for like a month, and I just
You've tried to fire it up in 2 seconds
with
and there we
5
go.
logs. I mean, I don't know what we're expecting here. Oh, I was thinking about it too the other day, which I haven't done yet, but I'm gonna probably do it at some point in time. At some point in time, I'm gonna buy you some scrap mechanic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna build a whole Johnson valve setup, like the Johnson bar valve setup, hopefully properly, and try
Okay.
try
and
to do
then
it.
and then I rate how accurate
And then
you
yeah,
get it.
then you could come in and tell me everything I did wrong with it, and how close it actually is. But I feel like it would be a cool project just to do like kind of an exploded view, not of an actual moving engine, but just an exploded view of how it all works and how it all.
That would be super cool.
Moves
I'm
together.
So game for that. Yeah.
And then have you come in, and it'll take me a while to figure out the dimensions of it, and then have you come in and criticize everything I did and tell me if it's. But I was thinking about that just watching these, because it's a really complicated mechanism when you look at these engines. And it's kind of hard to visualize with all the concealed parts and stuff, right? So
yeah, Stevenson is very hard to get a good visual on, and it's really hard to film. I've found on my channel trying to
I'm
get a
full
GoPro.
again. All right, let's try this again. With
Wide open. Let's go.
I'm wide open this time,
Okay, we got
and I
this.
have boiler pressure, 130
I
psi.
believe we've got 130 and 130, and we're 100, 100. Come on,
I
trains.
feel like
We
you
got
have
this.
bigger cylinders than I do.
I'm pretty sure I do.
Yeah. Do you have more tractive
I've just
effort?
got.
and more...
I've got bigger drivers, so I have less tractive effort.
So you have
you've got
bigger
more
cylinder,
tractive
bigger
effort,
drivers, less tractive effort. I'm an 060, you're a 260.
Yep. you have all your weight on the drivers. I probably weigh more, but I don't know how the weight compares.
How does that front driver, how is it connected? I don't understand.
What do you mean?
Like the back two are connected. Oh, there's that horizontal drawbar goes on. Oh, it sneaks in underneath there.
There's a little sneaky connecting rod.
Oh, okay. So it drives from the middle wheel, and then
yeah, that's your main, and then connects forward and backward, just like yours.
Just like mine. Yeah, mine's just more obvious. Yours is really like hidden in there.
Yeah, it's just because the weird wheel spacing. Okay, so it turns out even with full boiler pressure, we only make it like a couple car lengths more.
We had talked about this before once, and I'm pretty sure I remember the answer. Cold steel versus warm steel, no friction difference.
I don't think so. I don't think there's much of a difference, no.
The only thing that would cause you a friction difference is ice buildup on the track, which...
Well, anything on the rail, be it ice, snow, leaves, whatever.
Right.
Makes a difference.
Those 4 hopper cars all braked?
3 of them are.
We're just burning the shoes off the cars, basically.
That's fine. Doesn't matter. You can just burn them up. It's fine.
So old school shoes, you're saying, would be like wood with some sort of an insulator or something, like an old
wood without an insulator. Actually, really,
just a block of wood that presses on the wheel, and that's what you got.
Yep. Later, they went to asbestos.
Oh yeah, of course, it's everyone's favorite.
And then everyone's favorite universal material for everything, including cancer.
Well, I thought it was interesting when they first, not to just on the asbestos thing, when they first found out that cigarettes had cancer, their solution was put an asbestos filter on it. And that, and they were like, haha, now the cancer.
We've beaten this.
We've beaten the cancer with our asbestos filtered cigarettes. Like, brilliant.
Genius, I tell you. Genius.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And then they also went to iron, basically. And these days it's a composite material. It's actually kind of an interesting problem for us and the folks that run the older stuff, is getting brake shoes for steam locomotive wheels is not as easy as you'd think, because the different sizes require a different material. And of course you could get the wrong size shoe and then grind it to the right profile, but that's kind of a huge pain and not ideal and everything. It's kind of like
it's all custom made by like 5 people or something. Like
pretty much, which is what the case is for a lot of it. So I'm actually talking about this in a video tomorrow on the channel. You see a lot of steam locomotives in the United States lately that are doing excursion tours will have a diesel behind them. And everyone always whines about the fact that there's a diesel behind it. And it's like, well, why does it need the diesel? Why is the diesel there? Well, the diesel can just use dynamic braking and take care of all that. And then you're not worried about spending a bunch of money on brake shoes
too, right? Like it would generate power, like electricity for the train, where you wouldn't have to have an alternator.
No, that is actually a common misconception with a lot of the setups. Sometimes, yes. Like if you have an Amtrak locomotive, sure, but when UP does it, when they've got a diesel behind the big boy, or the Challenger, or not the Challenger anymore, the FEF or something like that, they don't have head-end power generators. So that's a separate system. So they have a generator card they bring along too. So it's just to there's you'll see in the full video tomorrow, but there's a bunch of different reasons why they have it, like stretching the fuel, making sure they've got the braking and they're not worried about burning through friction brakes and all this different stuff. So it's actually a really multifaceted thing.
Narrow gauge days, when electricity first came into the narrow gauge, they would put an alternator on a steam engine, like a little piston that would drive a wheel or something to generate power on off the steam pressure, or like.
So the steam locomotive's got what's called a dynamo, which is basically a little miniature steam turbine that would run off of the boiler directly and would always run, and that's the super high-pitched whine that you hear that's very loud in a lot of the videos that I post to the engines.
Holy cow, we're actually going to barely make this
We're getting
hill.
To the flat, just barely.
I don't know if we're going to make the second hill, but we'll find out, I guess.
I guess so. We're just going to have to keep it wide open and just see what we can do. We got to get up to as much speed as we can through here.
Unbelievable that we made it to here.
I can't believe that was cool. And with an appreciable train behind us for once. Last time it was like 4 cars, I think, and that was just very sad.
You should have brought the Zuma too and hooked it up, and then we would have been really.
Then we could have really done some stuff.
Triple-headed it.
Triple-headed. We'll have to remember that for next time.
Or just get better. But we just need a Heisler down here. We have a Heisler as the.
We need to get a geared engine.
Or a Climax as the helper. It's like it'll be slow, but she'll pull everything. So
it'll pull the building over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So The dynamo just provides lights for the locomotive and the headlight, and it was like the teens when a lot of those engines got it, in the 19s. It wasn't really an early thing, and it was definitely a modernization thing. So when they got air brakes or new boiler or whatever, they also came back with electric lights.
Right.
And the first engines actually kept their box headlights like this, but they were converted to electric. So they didn't get the more modern, different style headlight till later. That was actually designed to actually cast some lights of these box headlights. But the cars behind the train, some of the stuff on the narrow gauge did get electricity. We have an electrically lit coach from 1881. It got the electricity later, the DNRGW 284 at the museum. It was one of the ones that would be coupled to a train that had a baggage car with a generator in it, an original Delco power plant generator.
What,
that would
like
live inside
oil
the baggage
generators?
car.
Like, is that burning oil or what?
I wasn't sure if it was oil or it was an ancient, now AC Delco, but an ancient Delco generator, yeah.
That's so weird. And then how would they... So, old school wires, a lot of it was copper, a lot of aluminum and stuff. And how would they connect it, like, between cars? Like, because they didn't have good cable connectors back in the day. Not like a lot of the stuff we have now is like quick disconnects. We've got locking cables, you know, like you've got hose clamps.
Things, yeah.
You have all this nonsense that prevents two hoses from coming apart. But back in the day, what, they just like tied them together and call it like how did they have socket things? Or
it's kind of, on one hand, it's surprising because yes, they had sockets and had things like that, but it's similarly railroad janky in the way that only the railroad can be, where they had the plugs, but they were right above the door, like right where someone could get to them in between cars. And so it's like, if you're Brett, I mean, it's right at face height. Oh my God, are we making this?
This is shallows out now. I can't believe it, dude. This is like the actual limit of this.
8 cars, man.
This is the barely there limit.
2 engines.
That's unbelievable. All right, we got to slow down now because I got to hook off from you. I'm on nothing. This is on. Let me hold on. Because we're gonna go right into the unload right now, and that's bad. So we gotta go to the bypass. We gotta go this way, and then this one's gotta go. Yeah, this way's fine, and that'll go that way. Yeah, okay, we're lined into the bypass now. I'm gonna unhitch from you.
Okay.
And I will pull away.
Actually, you could pull into the siding ahead of us, and then I could pull ahead of you. Then you could just grab the cars off of me. Just go grab the next switch. Go grab the next switch. The next switch. The next switch.
Yeah, but you gotta break.
You're unhooked. So.
Yeah, but okay, yeah. I just wasn't sure if you were braking because this thing's gonna do the stupid like the flip the switch back. If you were right on me, it would have been it would have been a problem.
It would have been silly. All right.
See, I can't. There we go. Now I can flick it.
There we are.
All right.
So I'll pull past. Then you can grab the cars off of me and stick them in. And then you can just go down the hill.
Well, we got to go get the coal cars.
You could bring the cars. Oh, yeah, we do have to go get the coal cars.
Yeah, someone's got to bring the Class 48 and go get the coal cars. Dunk.
Well, I mean, theoretically, either of the engines can go do that.
Okay, well, you want to take the... I can unload this then, that's fine.
Yeah, you grab these and unload them because you got the wallet.
Okay.
So I'll get past the switch.
You're unhitched.
You can go do your thing.
I'll break this. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe it'll break.
I'm braking. I want to make sure that you can get these.
You gotta back up. You gotta back up.
Okay.
Because the switch, you gotta get the switches, the lines there.
You'll be on the back end of them.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. Okay, yeah, you're good. Never mind. I'll take them first. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, I was thinking that, but I can probably just run past right here.
This is the run past line is it should be good. For a fair amount of cars. I'm coming up behind these now anyway, so I'll have them.
Okay. I'm in the run around, so we'll see if we can just...
You're going to go down in reverse and then just come back?
Yep. Go grab those and come back. Yeah.
All right. I'm going forward. Hello. How are you?
This thing is very zoomy. I can only imagine the amount of trouble I can get in.
How did... that happened? Well,
you breaking out the cups, Con?
Apparently. I'm like initial D'ing this track right now.
Are you really?
But now if I go in reverse,
deja vu.
Yeah, it might just snap. Yeah, if I go in reverse, there we go. I'm back on the track. It literally like I bonked the train and then I was like half on one.
Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus.
Are you dead?
Okay. Yep.
You know,
it's fine.
Did you know you can't You can't just full send it down the mountain, right?
I wanted to see how far I'd go, and it was fine right up until it wasn't.
Are you gonna be able to get the train back?
I mean, it jumped spectacularly off of a steel bridge down to the canyon about 100 feet below.
But I guess you could just put it.
I think it'll be fine.
It's the fastest way to get down the track, I guess.
It's true. It is fast. We did go down fast.
Oh, there you are. Hold up. Just make sure you're nice and slow approaching the top here. I am currently pushing cars out of the way.
Look at this radio communication. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I saw you coming up. I am pushing cars into one of the things. And I would like to not die today. That would be great.
That would, yeah, that would be ideal, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would help. My whole not dying plan.
Yep, it's a good plan. Solid. I believe in that.
I'm actually just gonna like kind of punt these cars and just smoke them, and really kind of hit them hard, and then.
In the immortal words of Patrick Starr, kicking. I want to do some kicking.
I'm gonna, I just want to hit that. I basically unhitched it and then just pushed it and then slammed on the brakes.
Well, hey, that is a strategy.
And then hopefully that's enough of a kick to not derail it, but...
I want QMA to add the sketchiness into this game that is polling cars.
Polling?
Because polling, yeah. So a lot of the engines and cars later on, and I think the Heisler or the Climax has it modeled. They got what are called polling pockets, which are little dimples in the end beams on the engines. And the whole purpose for them was to just stick a giant stick of oak or something.
Oh, right, and like push across
and shove
tracks.
a car on the next track. Yeah. Somebody keeps asking in the comments for train jousting,
failed.
and it's like, oh, you've binned. You've been.
I don't even know how. It's literally on a straight line by itself with like I didn't hit the switch. The switch is still set that way.
That's bizarre.
It just decided to derail.
That's whack.
That's cool.
Someone keeps asking about train jousting, and it's like, well, that'd be hilarious, but you can't really do anything.
Yeah, like I keep getting that too. I keep getting someone who comments like every day, and they're like, "Oh, day 55 of asking about train jousting," and it's like the only thing we could do is play like train chicken, where we drive at each other at full speed and then both die.
Yeah, basically. There's no mechanic to like actually joust. But if we had polling pockets and poles, we could joust. That would be hilarious. I would be in full support of that.
Wow, what a nice guy Hyce is.
Well,
I was commenting on the fact that you literally go and do your switching and then don't even set the switch for me. You just leave it in the wrong spot. Not like I'm trying to make the money for the company.
Well,
what a guy.
You're in my way, Con. Come on.
If you had a yard like this back in the old days, they just have a dedicated switch guy that would just run around the yard flicking switches all day, or is that like?
Yeah, you'd probably just have your.
Or is it like each
have
train?
Your own brakeman on each train, and you'd take care of you. And there might be timetable rules saying like, this switch is to be left in this position. Like that's pretty common on like Ys and stuff, so that you can expect that the switch will be lined the same way.
So even if you go through,
check it, but.
Like, even if you go through the switch, you have to flick it back afterwards and then hop back on your train.
Usually by timetable and stuff, so.
Okay.
Oh, and so funny, in one of our recent episodes, we were talking about, like, water tanks and how they would prevent them from freezing and talking about fires and stuff and how they worked. And, of course, like, after we do that episode, I was reading through the sequel to the book that I've been enjoying. The sequel's Rio Grande Glory Days. The original book is Little Engines and Big Men, both by Gilbert A. Lathrop. And reading through that, they talk about those logistics and they talk about the jobs on the railroad, and it made a lot of sense as soon as I heard it, because we still had guys in this department on my railroad when I worked for BNSF, and I always wondered, why are they called the Water Services Department? But they're the guys that fix all the building stuff, like.
But modern trains, there's no water towers anymore on modern tracks.
No, God no. There's no water towers, none of that stuff.
Like all the fueling is done at depots, and like filling
it's all done
rad
at
fluid
mechanical
is
facilities now. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have like.
I don't think I can fit on top of those 4 cars with these, Con.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure. I think I could get 3.
Oh yeah, you're probably right. All right, I'll go grab them.
Go grab those. But yeah, like
I was optimistic there for a second. I was really.
really optimistic. But they got to come down at some point anyway. Or I guess they should come down with it. I guess it would have made it an easier.
Well,
move
I'll
to
go
do it in
connect
one
them up
go,
to the
but
other 4 empties, and then it'll be ready to go
that'll
for
make
you.
sense. Yeah, and then we'll load, and then we'll get the loads tacked on top, so we got the loads next to the engine. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Sold.
And then we'll
Anyway,
compress
it's like-
the living crap out of all of it.
Why are these people that deal with building stuff in the water services department? And it's like, oh, water services came from the people who dealt with the water towers. That was the origin of that department. And so there used to be several different, around a town, like in the book, it talks about how it's the guy that works out of Gunnison, and there were several water tanks around town that he would have to go walk to and fire up the stationary boiler next to the water tank at the pump house. And the boiler would pump the water in using mechanical pumps driven by a little steam engine. And it was his charge to take care of them. And then the steam engine would also provide the heat and steam heat for the water tower, at least in the era of the Grand. I guess I can be nice and get some of your switches this time.
Thank you,
while
sir.
I'm sitting here
Appreciate
talking.
it. I wasn't sure if you were gonna.
I was sitting there monologuing.
This is like every
so,
construction site where like one guy's doing all the work, like driving
and everyone
the
else is
excavator,
standing
and
around
everyone else is
watching.
just watching him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And then you're
what's
like,
going on.
man,
You
why
should
did it
be
take them
lined
6
in.
years to build that one section of road? And it's like, maybe
Because
one guy
welcome to
did
how
it all.
Construction works. Yeah. Seriously. And it was it's a funny passage in the book talking about some of the characters that did that and how he basically took an early Indian motorcycle engine and strapped it to basically made a speeder, the first equivalent of a speeder, so that he could run around and go do his water tower job much easier rather than walking to each engine and tank. He could ride his pump car basically down the rail line, but it was engine powered, so he didn't have to pump it. And he ended up getting hit by a one of the trains oncoming, and it, thankfully he survived, but it destroyed his invention, which was a pretty funny story from the book. But they had tanks and they had engines and pump houses for each tank, and the water services department was this whole thing, and I had no clue about that until, oh hey, look, it came up in this book that's all stories but helps teach you something about the railroad along the way. It's cool.
All right, these are set up and good to go.
Okay, I am starting to.
I'm gonna
back
tie one
into
brake
load.
on them just so they don't move, and I'm gonna get out of the way once you're in there and go. I guess I go back all the way down now.
Yeah, you can go run down to the engine shed and go
Just
hide.
chill while you fill up.
Yep.
Yep. All right, bye. Have fun.
Bye.
I'm not gonna bid
Hope
it
you
this
find
time.
your dad.
Actually, I haven't technically had to pee at a cup because I've gotten the engine back on without re-railing. Oh no, wait, no, I binned that one car. Never mind.
No, you did bin that one car.
But is
And
binning
if
a
you-
car really like a pee in the cup moment? Like it's
If
just
something
it's,
derailed and you needed and you had to contact someone to re-rail it, unless you arranged some sort of deal with whoever was helping you re-rail, you would have to pee in a cup. And obviously, in the era of peeing in a cup, I mean, you would have to be contacting someone. People don't get away with dirty deals anymore, really. Where oh yeah, we did this because there's cameras and everything everywhere these days. But
Right.
back in the early days, I mean, this era of railroading, there were many, hey, we did this thing. I will get you some nice cigars if you bring the derrick out, Mr. Derrick, man, and come re-rail us.
Do they like modern day trains? Do they have cameras in all the locomotives now too, and just like everything?
They're working on it. They don't have them in every single one, but most locomotives at least have an outward-facing camera.
Right.
For event recording purposes, like, oh, they hit something at a grade crossing or ran through a signal or something. But a lot of them anymore, and a lot of the ones they use in lead, have inward-facing cameras to watch the crew as well. Yeah,
Interesting.
which that is a very, very hot topic amongst railroaders. So, but it's kind of sign of the times these days. And
I mean, to
most
be fair, I
modes of
worked in
transit
an
and everything
automotive
have them,
factory
so.
where they have cameras watching like every process. It's
Yep. We had the same promised to come to my shop at BNSF. It was always the big question mark. When are they going to put cameras everywhere? And it was always a year away or something. And they never ended up putting them in. And I think they pretty much closed the shop down, which is sad. But
Yeah, they
most
had
of the big
cameras
shops have them
everywhere, and
everywhere.
like it's just it's like what do you have to hide if you're just showing up and doing your job? Like
just do your job. That's
yeah.
yeah. It's kind of weird feeling someone watching you and all that stuff. But just do the work and it's whatever.
Yeah, they're not there, and they don't put cameras in like bathrooms or anything like that. Like they're not stupid.
Oh God,
so.
no. Yeah.
It's like, who cares?
Yeah, for me, we didn't really need the cameras indoors everywhere because, like, I knew where all the guys were going to hide. They all had hiding spots. They all had places they'd like to take a nap and whatever. And I was the kind of boss where it's like, okay, I just want you to come do your job. Like, I don't expect you to be kicking butt all day and taking names and doing all this stuff. Like, I get it. Everyone's got days, whatever. You know, just do what I ask you to do. If I really need you, I'll come find you after that. But, you know, if I could let you go and have some relaxation time, I would. And so if dude was off hiding and doing his thing, I wasn't about to go hassle him over, oh, you're not getting maximum productivity, because he got done what I needed to get done for my end of the thing. And, you know, it was a little bargain that we would do. And maybe that's why I wasn't cut out for management. I was too nice to the guys.
We have some interesting things here.
What's going on? Did you pee in a cup again?
No, we have some trees that are like through the line now that weren't before, and I feel like
I think that the tree model changed because it's not the same model, so maybe the origin or something's different. I'm peeing in all of the cups. Okay,
oh, good, perfect. I'm coming back up.
That's fine. I just knocked 3 cars over on their sides.
Oh wow, holy cow! You just
squished
the whole train.
Yeah, I left the engine to go.
How fast were you?
I was actually only going like 3 or 4.
Jeez. All right, well, pull it forward and I'll re-rail
pull it on the
you
head.
Yeah.
I didn't anticipate. Oh, something is binding up. The links might still be in place because I can't pull this.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. I got off the engine to go get the hitch, and then proceeded to forget about all of the extra weight that I have now. And we just karate like the 2-inch punch those cars into the hill there. It's fine.
Wow. Thank God you don't wreck stuff. Oh my goodness. We would be so broke in like the first day.
Right.
All our money would go to maintenance and we'd just be absolutely broke.
An entirely different experience if there was a penalty for it, right?
Are you saying you would actually drive carefully? Is that what I'm hearing? Is
that is what you're hearing? Yes. Well, at least somewhat carefully. Because for me, it's like, okay,
all right, you're good to go.
Everything about real railroading is about safety, rules compliance, staying vigilant, not getting complacent, very active, very like draining to do.
But guys, after hours, they drag race steam trains at the museum. That's what he doesn't tell you. They've actually got like this strip set up with multiple tracks.
We don't have 2 parallel tracks.
Oh, you got.
I wish we did. Well, we do briefly, but it wouldn't be enough to actually race because then they converge and you'd hit each other. But anyway.
All right, what's the 0 to 60 on a steam train? Like 468 seconds or something? Like
it's a lot if it can get to 60. Every engine I've ever operated is infinity because it would never get to 60. So.
Awesome.
But the ones that could get to 60, I mean, you'd be talking about just like light engine, it would probably still be like a minute plus probably. Am I good to back up? I can't tell if I'm
you're good. You're good. Switches are set. Unbelievable. This guy. I leave for 5 minutes, not even 5 seconds. Come back, everything's destroyed. Unbelievable.
That's 3 cars. That's hardly everything. It's only a quarter of the rolling stock that was up here.
This is why people build loop tracks,
25% of
People build loops tracks because they know their friends are going to come in and bin it on end piece tracks.
That's probably fair.
Whereas a loop, it's a lot harder to bin it.
Well, not with the upgraded speed limits on the Glentonburg.
That's true. All right, you're good. Full forward.
Full forward, he said. Here we go.
No, not that full forward. I'm gonna check brakes just to. Good. Yeah. We hear you. Yeah. How you doing? Oh, that brake's tied. I'm gonna untie that.
We're gonna want brakes pretty shortly, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna tie the hoppers themselves.
Yeah,
I feel like that's because compression seems to be better in railroads.
Yes, tension seems to be what causes more of the
more of the issues. All right. We're tied on
the
one.
grade. I have off the power.
Tied on 2.
Gonna see what the cars do.
Tied on 3.
Gonna go from there.
I got 3 hoppers tied, so we're slowing down. I'll take off one.
Also pull through it till we get on the grade a little bit better.
Yeah, it's kind of like a gradual build into the grade here. Then once you hit this next corner, it's 6.5%. Like once you switch back here, that's the...
Gotcha. Yeah, that's definitely where we started picking up speed.
I really wish they need signs that link to track, and when you place it on the track, it just reads what the grade is at that point of the track and puts it on the sign.
That would be definitely a handy thing. Yeah.
Like manual signs that you can type would be fine too, like where you can type them, but then you have to remember what you set everything as. But just an automatic sign where it's like it links to the track, kind of like a switch does, puts itself off to the side of the track and goes, I'm at this percentage.
That would be handy. There's not too much of a precedence. Usually grade is known by the timetable, and you had your timetable on the engine with you. But in lieu of being able to have that, yeah,
right.
Signs on the wayside.
So on narrow gauge, they didn't put signage like anywhere really. Like they had signals, obviously.
You had some signs. They did not have signals actually.
No signals on narrow gauge at all. It's just
no.
Wow.
They didn't have any. They had station order board signals, which would tell you to stop at a station potentially.
Right.
But that would be it. They didn't have.
So what about where
signals,
track
semaphores.
like splits into multiple tracks? Still no signals.
No,
just
no signals. It was all operated by track authority. So you'd have a warrant to own a piece of track for a certain time.
Wow.
And if you couldn't make it, you'd have to stop and then send flagmen out and make sure that you could protect yourself from other trains.
That's
so
insane.
yeah, no signals, and it was all operated like that for years, and that's how the narrow gauge still operates. And they have train meets on the Durango and Silverton and McCumbrace and Toltec regularly, where they still don't have signals. They have a dispatch person who's centralized now who helps with that. But
so when did signals first come into play then? With standard gauge stuff? It was just
standard gauge stuff started having them, and it was actually pretty early. But it was just dependent on the
and they were manually adjusted signals, or were they electronically controlled?
They were manual for a long time. Yeah.
So some guy on a schedule would go out and set the signals.
Well, you'd have a train pass, and either it was mechanically set, or someone would manually set the signal, or
right, the train would flick it on the track or whatever, like hit a pressure plate that would push the signal.
Basically, yeah. Or someone would be providing signals based on the authorities at certain interlocking locations. So someone would have the controls for all the switches at the interlocking, and he'd throw all the switches. And only once all the switches were thrown would it mechanically let him say that route was clear. Like, all the switches are lined, I can now say this signal's go. But we didn't have that in their narrow gauge at all. So definitely an interesting thing beyond that, yeah. You asked something before the signals thing, and then we went down the rabbit hole, and I don't remember what it was.
I don't either. That's okay. We'll come back to it at some point. We always just end up going off these crazy tangents, like just...
that is the fun of it.
Yeah.
There's all these good, fun topics to get down the rabbit hole on.
Interesting story about tangents. In the university I went to, all these different departments have different things that they do to, I guess be cool when really we're all just nerds.
Right.
So that's sort of how it goes. And one of the things the math kids did is when someone went off on a tangent, they would yell, "Tangent alert." And then you'd go off on a tangent. But now, for people who don't know, a tangent is a straight line coming off of a circular curve, right? So if you take a curve and you go perpendicular from the curve at any point, actually parallel to the curve at the exact point, and then you draw a straight line off that curve, that's what a tangent is, sort of, in mathematics anyway. And if you were to do that with, like, let's say your arm and your head, you would put your arm in a straight line off of your head. And I'm sure you can guess what that gesture looks like. So, for some reason, the math students never saw it as a problem, but they would yell "tangent alert" and then put their arm up very straight and stiff. And
oops.
We were all very concerned about, mind you, this was back in days like 2010, so I guess a little different of a time, but
dark ages.
But yeah, we were like, guys, you can't do that in like public and yelling tangent alert does not make that okay.
Yeah.
Is what but yeah, that was the math students thing, and for some reason they never saw it. I don't know how they didn't see that as a problem. It's just
they're math people, not history people,
yeah, no, I was just like, okay, we're good, guys, I guess. I don't know.
It's fine.
Yeah,
it's definitely fine.
You have no brakes, by the way. Now you're good. Everything's
cool.
on time.
Yeah, I've just been trying to keep it to a medium pace.
Yeah, we don't bin this on the
get to rocket light speed here.
Yeah, it's interesting driving with no speed limits now, because I wish there was, it's like you said, I wish there was stability in the cars, because it should derail based on momentum around a corner, not based on the shakiness of the car driving down straight track, right? Like that's...
Yeah, precisely. All right, I'm tying the far break from Betsy on the coal, or not the
Right,
not the coal,
and then I'm going to flick this back to the main line so the plank cars just keep going.
Yep, and I'm going to just run right through this.
Yeah,
I never stopped the engine.
Yeah, the plank
Although I'm
cars
gonna
are
have to
still,
stop to
I
get the
slowed them,
switch
but
'cause
they're
this is
still,
speed boy. They're still rolling, so I have to catch them. Got it.
yeah, they're good.
How exciting. Switch flipped. Rolling through. I'll stop on the other side of the switch, get both switches in this crossover.
Holy cow, Betsy is, boiler pressure's a problem because Betsy's been sitting out in the cold. So she's got to get the boiler pressure back up, but dang, she struggles to shove 4 iron cars.
She's really struggling pretty bad.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll see you back at the freight depot, I guess.
Yes, sir. Laters.
Laters. You're going to have to set a switch when you get to the top of the hill, remember? Because you're going to go into the sawmill.
Right. Otherwise, I'll go to the sawmill.
Yeah.
I would just, send it full reg and then just teleport there and set it, but that's not an option anymore.
No, and you can't even set it like half reg, because if you're over the power, if you're not at equilibrium, like we were talking about, you're done. Like, it's going to just keep picking up speed, and eventually...
This thing is fast.
Yeah. You just took off,
whipped
dude, and
around
I'm
that curve.
barely moving here.
See, I wish I could run this fast, like, safely, without fear of glitch. That would be so much fun.
It'll be a cool day in railroads when there's no speed limits anymore on anything, and it's just what the limit of the engine is, plus the limit of your track.
Because that really makes the skill in the alignment, really. Like, we spent a lot of time trying to make the curves be 50-meter curves.
Yeah,
and I've heard a lot of people...
The tightest is 50.
I've heard of a lot of people binning it in, like, Class 70s in the bigger engines around 30-meter curves before the speeds got increased.
Right.
So it's like, okay... So we got a little bit of a skill thing there where it's like, okay, well, we spent the time to make a 50-meter radius alignment. So, where's the reward of being able to run fast? Well, it's just kind of glitchy.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
You want, like, if you have gradual turns, the idea is that we can run a 50-car train at, like, 30 miles an hour, and it shouldn't care.
Shouldn't, yeah.
Oh, my God, dude, you are hauling, though. Wow.
Yeah, it's scooting. This is probably near the spicy limit.
Dude,
it's hard to tell what's client side and what's real spice.
You look pretty stable from my perspective, but holy, you're fast.
Yeah, this is speed. This is speed we haven't really seen in this game, which is... It feels so good. Oh, God. Oh, God. There it goes.
Did you bin it?
I've watched one car
I
just
see that. Yeah,
over.
You're broke. Yeah, well, you found the limit.
I found the limit. Vaguely around there.
Modern railroads have grade signs, though, don't they? Or
not that I know of. I've never seen one.
They really don't. But Derail Valley has grade signs. Or is that just
Derail Valley? That's just
Derail Valley being Derail Valley. There's just
so to be an engineer on a certain territory on a certain railroad, you had to be qualified on the territory. So they do simulator runs over a train simulator, but with a mocked up cab and everything over the territory before you go, and then you do training runs on the territory, and you got to be qualified on the subdivision before you can actually run the train on it. And you have to know where all those timetabled changes are, and they list them in your timetable. Okay, well, this is the grade at this location, and this is what it does, and blah, blah, blah. Why does this handbrake do nothing?
are you talking? You're not talking. I thought you were talking about your story for a second there still, and I was like, wait, that seems like a really weird...
No, I'm having more client desync things where the car was running away, and then it just teleported me and the car back. I don't know what's going on. I have lost my mouse cursor while I'm in the driving UI because of the snow, white on white background. I have lost it so many times. I'm like, where is my mouse?
You should just, I'm pretty sure it uses your Windows default mouse. So just get one of those custom pink mouse cursors, and throw it on
there. There you go. Oh, part of the thing is I use push to talk on Discord because I'm not a heathen.
Oh, God. I don't use push to talk.
And my push to talk button also makes the mouse cursor disappear, apparently.
Oh, perfect.
So that's a helpful thing. All right, so, Betsy's now in the shed.
Controlling the speed of a train, right?
Yep.
Would you mostly do that with the Johnson bar with the reverser, or would you do it with the reg?
So it depends. If you're running tonnage, ideally you're just running with the bar, quote unquote, where the throttle's wide open, and as you need more speed as you hit hill, you give it more Johnson bar, and as you need less, you hook it up more.
Right.
That's the most efficient way to do it. Sometimes you don't have enough train for the territory to run with tonnage, in which case you use the throttle a little bit.
But in
too,
this
and
case, because the reverser doesn't really work that way,
it doesn't make a darn bit of difference.
we just do it with the regulator.
Yeah, it doesn't matter which one you use because it's not simulated. So maybe someday it will be. I hope and long for a day where the Steam Sim is more accurate in this game, because it's a fun, nuanced thing to do, and it would make running feel more invested, and you'd have to pay more attention to it rather than just setting it full, or now setting it at something that makes sure that it doesn't go bin it. Like, I don't know, it doesn't feel quite right to me still. I teleported to the sawmill.
To be fair, I can
almost
slow
the
down my
switch.
speed by using less reverser. That's what I'm doing right now.
You can. It just doesn't get you the efficiency savings that
Right,
the
I
engine
see.
would actually get. But the engine also doesn't use any water as it sits anyways, so it's like.
Well, I mean, barely any anyway. So it's.
Yeah, barely any. Rather than, I mean.
Speaking of which, the Glenbrook's actually only at 1,400, I guess, gallons of water left. So in the boiler, there's none in the tender because it's dropping. So we're gonna have to.
We'll have to get
Fill
it
this
under a
tender
water
when we
tower
get
at some
back.
point.
Yeah.
I see a floating man coming towards me. Oh, now he's inside a train. Okay.
All right, have
there
you
we
flicked
are.
this switch?
I have. You're lined.
Oh, I see you. Perfect. All right.
The smoke box door loaded last, so that was a little hilarious. It's like, hey, look, I can see a blast pipe.
Oh my God, this gets so fast so quickly.
Dude, it's awesome. I want to be able to use this for evil. I mean, for fun. So,
Dude, we are quick.
scooting.
We are very quick.
Careful, the speed's addicting.
Yeah, I noticed.
And then the derailing is.
So I'm cutting the reverse. I'm cutting the reg down on corners. Like I'm down to 25% reg. The tender looks actually like the sketchiest piece, to be honest.
It does really, yeah. It really
the
looks a little-
cars don't look nearly as bad. They
little
look pretty
sus.
smooth. The tender looks like it's gonna die on every.
See, it looked perfectly smooth, and then one of the cars in the middle just rolled over and fell off the bridge.
Yeah.
Like, that's what happens. It's like, okay, well, it's a little hokey.
Oh, we're good.
But
We're
definitely
going.
fun to be able to go fast.
Oh, perfect. Make it back. Yeah, honestly, the
depot
double tracking
comes
thing,
up
like, especially if there's no speed limits, you wouldn't need double tracks. You just get, like, there's, the freight depot has switch offs, the sawmill has, like, alternate routes, like, it has a runaround route, the smelter
Right.
has runaround routes, like, the smelter's completely separate. You know, the
We might
iron
need to
mine,
put
if you're
a-
going there, like, why are you going there if you're not just getting the products? Like,
If we put, we may need to put passing tracks in if we like decide to have a huge operating session or something.
Yeah.
Put a couple more in at locations, like right here would be good at the throat of where everything comes out, so you could pull out with your load, be ready, and wait for someone to come in on the other track and that sort of thing.
yeah, although
That
wouldn't you
way-
just use those 5 shunt lanes as passing tracks and stuff? Like,
You could, but then you're limiting the functionality of the yard too.
oh no,
I guess which
this isn't the yard, bro. This isn't the yard yet.
Ooh.
I've been thinking
not the
about
yard
it. So
yet?
if you look on the map, next to the freight depot going towards the oil field ironworks and refinery, there's that throat.
That throat of big,
And
wide
I've
openness.
built there before, and it's a big, flat, open area. So we
Okay.
could go have the freight depot be the freight depot with a couple passing tracks in the turn, and then have like off that big curve at the end, have the turnoff that goes towards those other industries, and put just a massive like hump yard there
Dude, I like the sound of that.
for humping all our like empties. So you come in, you drop off, you hump your empties, and then you could either go the one way or you can go back this way, and then that's all. And then the freight depot just has a bunch of like 5 or 6 alignment tracks like we've got there, just for like staging people who are, you know, waiting to leave or whatever.
5 foot. Stop, gun.
Hey, why do I
We're
need to
not
stop?
gonna-
We're not unloading
we're-
anything. Oh,
We're not
water.
gonna fill with water.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, that would be good. But anyway, we're
So-
back. So, yeah,
Yep.
let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. I think we're going to maybe build some coal mine connection at this point. I think that's probably...
I think that's gonna be fun. It's been a minute since we built anything, so I think
Yeah,
that's
and we
definitely
need
a good
we
idea.
need to get... We have iron products now, so we should start delivering them to the coal mine.
Yep.
Although the
Another
only place to bring
tender.
coal is the iron works, so we'll have to
Yep.
build the
Have
coal
to start
mine.
building the other way soon too. Yeah,
Yeah, which means
Another
we'll
5 more
we'll have to
foot.
build that hump yard, you know what I'm saying?
dude, that's gonna be a fun episode.
Get-
That'll do.
Get
Right
humping. So that'll be exciting. But yeah,
humping.
let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure you check out Hyce's channel, link in the description. Like, subscribe, and we'll see y'all next time.
there. Bye.
Bye.